all you need to know, the Bloomberg Quint podcast that prepares you for the day's business.
Good morning to everyone tuning in. This is Bloomberg Quint and I am Hormuz Vatakia here to tell you all that you need to know on the 18th of March. First up, the US Federal Reserve continues to project near zero interest rates at least through 2023 in their latest policy statement. This despite upgrading their US economic outlook. The Fed also expects that a bump in inflation this year will be short-lived. The GDP growth forecast was raised to 6.5% this year from 4.2% earlier. Back home, Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed concerns over the rise in COVID-19 cases in parts of the country and called for quick and decisive steps to check the emerging second peak. The Prime Minister reiterated that RT-PCR tests should make up for over 70% of all testing and also spoke against wastage of vaccines, calling for more vaccine centers. On the virus front, Maharashtra reported a total of over 23,000 cases as of 7 p.m. on Wednesday, with Mumbai reporting over 2,300 new cases. The government is likely to leave the inflation targeting band for the Reserve Bank of India unchanged. That is a Bloomberg exclusive. People with knowledge of the matter said that the range is likely to be retained in the current 2 to 6% band. The government is also mulling a safeguard option that offers a leeway in cases of exceptional events. The Central Board of Direct Taxes or CBDT has clarified that reports on withdrawal of concessional rate of tax on interest income of FPIs is incorrect. Media reports had indicated that the concessional tax rate under Section 115AD of the Income Tax Act has been withdrawn. The press statement said that there is no change in position even after the recent amendment in the section. Indian refiners are planning to buy lesser oil from the Middle East as OPEC's supply restrictions have made US crude more attractive. Government data reveals that India's crude purchases from Saudi Arabia fell 36% in January month on month, while that from the US more than doubled. Sources have also told Bloomberg that refiners like Indian Oil are planning to cut purchase from Saudi Arabia in May and buy more from the US. Indian Oil has also floated a spot tender seeking crude from West Africa, the Middle East, US and Canada for April to May loading. IPO updates then. Gaming platform Nazara Technologies' issue was fully subscribed on the first day itself. Overall subscriptions stood at 4 times, led by retail investors who put up demand for 16.7 times the shares on offer. Suryodaya Small Finance Bank, however, saw a subdued response to its issue on the first day, with overall subscription coming in at only 42%. None of the 3 portions saw full subscription. Kalyan Jewellers' IPO saw full subscription as bidding closed on the second day. Overall subscription stood at 1.2 times, with only the retail portion being fully subscribed. Also, Craftsman Automation became the second least subscribed issue of the year as bidding closed on the final day. Overall subscriptions stood at 3.8 times, led mainly by institutional investors whose portion was subscribed over 5 times. On the other hand, the issue of Lakshmi Organics saw subscription of 106 times as bidding closed on the final day. The issue became the 4th most subscribed issue of the 2021. Subscription was led by non-institutional investors who put up demand for 217 times the shares on offer. Retail portion was subscribed 20 times. In corporate news, Punjab National Bank has incorporated a wholly owned subsidiary called PNB Cards and Services, which will undertake services pertaining to the credit card business of the state-run lender. The authorized capital of the company will be 25 crore rupees, while paid-up capital will be 15 crore rupees. BHEL has emerged as the lowest bidder for the Fleet Mode tender floated by the Nuclear Power Corporation of India for the Turbine Island package projects. The projects are said to be worth 10,800 crore rupees. The company said that it has won these orders through an open competitive bidding process. With that, I head over to Neeraj Shah for the trade setup of the day. Morning, Neeraj. We have had 4 straight days of losses now. However, a thing to note on Wednesday was that despite the fall, the VIX did not rise. How are we set up at the weekly options expiry?
Well, maybe that's good news that the volatility isn't correcting too much or the VIX is not coming off, because that should aid the positive mood that we are likely to see in the markets today. And considering the kind of move that we had yesterday, any green is positive. Now, firstly, the US stocks erased the earlier losses and jumped higher after Federal Reserve did what it did. It said no interest rate hikes to 2023, it let inflation run hotter. And I think the I think Jerome Powell has said this on a number of times that the market should not get unduly worried. But the market in its wisdom does get worried. But the interesting thing was a lot of focus was there on the dot plot. And I think the 2023 median plot is still hugging the floor, which is why I think stocks and bonds rose a lot. And from the looks of it, the US futures, the last time I checked, were in the green. I mean, this seems to be like a Goldilocks market, right? I mean, very strong economic growth, moderately higher inflation, rebounding earnings, and very easy monetary conditions. So even though stocks cool off because of all of these factors, maybe, just maybe, institutions will see every dip as a buying opportunity. Maybe retailers should too. Well, the markets are likely to, as I said, do reasonably okay today. And if they continue to do well for a slightly longer period of time after having corrected for 4 days on a trot, you might well see commodities and technology do well. Maybe banks could bounce back too. In terms of newsmakers, I think Hormuz has highlighted a few. I would probably also draw the attention on telcos. And while the news is known, just a brief bit of details. So Vodafone Idea has added customers for the first time in 15 months, even though the active subscriber base fell. But I think people would probably view this positively. For Bharti Airtel, they added about 5.89 million subscribers, which is 3x more than Jio. And Airtel is now outpaced Jio on this count for the 6th straight month. So it's positive news for both the incumbent telcos. Can the stocks react? Well, I think the bulls would be hoping they do because the stocks have been battered down really badly. I'll also watch out for some of the companies in which there's continuous promoter activity. I think Healthcare Global, in which promoters have been continuously buying, or Aarti Industries, in which promoters have been consistently selling, should be top of the mind. Delta Corp incidentally revoked some pledges, so maybe that could be in focus as well. Lastly, Morgan Stanley has become the first US bank, apparently. CNBC International has put out this story, but it is the first international big bank to offer the wealth management clients access to Bitcoin funds, because apparently in an internal memo, they have told the financial advisors that it is launching access to 3 funds that enable ownership of Bitcoin. Talk of some institutional acceptance for that one. Actually, I'll make this the last point now. Because cases are rising, COVID cases that is, the question is, can they lead to near-term growth concerns and delay market expectations of a full-blown recovery? Sure, they could. However, as Nomura puts it, expect only marginal negative growth effects because the government restrictions are less stringent and businesses seem to have adjusted to the new normal. However, I doubt that all of us have adjusted to the health normal, and therefore, let's just wear our masks and ensure that all of India, and particularly Maharashtra, which is in a grip of whichever wave you call this, we need to get out of it very, very quickly. So stay safe, please wear your masks, and thanks so much for tuning into this podcast today.
I hope you enjoyed listening to All You Need to Know. Did you know that you could listen to the show on the IVM Podcast app? On the IVM Podcast app, along with this, we have a number of other shows which you think you'll enjoy. Listen to Cyrus Says with Cyrus Brocha as the host. Listen to Paisa Vaisa with Anupam Gupta. The Scene and the Unseen with Amit Verma, or Shunya One hosted by Shiladitya Mukhopadhyay and myself. Check out the IVM Podcast app to get more talk content that you will enjoy.